The decision came without warning, a cold declaration delivered by beings who believed themselves superior in every way. The Galactic Council chamber was a kaleidoscope of alien forms and colors, species of unimaginable shapes and intellect gathered in an ornate assembly. And there, at the heart of it all, stood humanity's representatives, small, fragile-looking beings compared to their towering counterparts. The vote was unanimous. Earth was banned from the Council. Their reasoning was clinical, devoid of empathy. Humans are reckless, one alien delegate declared, its voice reverberating with mechanical precision. Their emotional instability jeopardizes intergalactic peace. Their reliance on primitive technologies and their destructive tendencies make them incompatible with the unity of the Council. The accusations piled on, each sharper than the last. Wars fought on Earth's surface. Environmental damage inflicted by unchecked industrial growth. The audacity to explore space without adhering to protocols set millennia ago by species who deemed themselves more advanced. When the verdict was announced, there was no room for appeal. Humanity's representatives were escorted out, their protests drowned beneath the Council's symphony of self-congratulation. To the assembled species, Earth's exile was nothing more than a logical step to preserve their fragile order. But back on Earth, the announcement was anything but a conclusion. It was a spark. The news spread like wildfire, igniting anger, frustration, and despair in equal measure. Televised debates raged over whether humanity's ambitions had doomed them. Protesters filled the streets, some demanding retribution, others lamenting that humanity had dared to dream of joining the stars. But amid the cacophony, a quiet resolve began to take hold. The Council had underestimated humanity. They saw a divided, fragile species and assumed they would crumble under rejection. What they failed to account for was the sheer stubbornness, the relentless drive to adapt and overcome. World leaders convened in an emergency summit, not to beg for reinstatement, but to plot a new course. It was time to focus inward, to unite as one species rather than squabble over borders and ideologies. In that moment, humanity found its purpose. If they were not welcome in the Council, they would build something far greater. It wasn't just defiance. It was determination. The kind that whispered, "You don't want us? Fine. Watch what we can do on our own." Across Earth, scientists, engineers, and visionaries worked tirelessly, driven not by the Council's rejection but by the limitless possibilities that lay beyond it. The spark of anger transformed into the fire of innovation. Slowly but surely, humanity began its ascent, not as outcasts clinging to the edges of the galaxy, but as pioneers carving their own path. Even in the face of isolation, one truth became clear: humanity had no intention of fading into obscurity. Instead, they would rise, not to seek validation, but to prove to themselves and the universe that they belonged among the stars. And deep in their hearts, they knew this was only the beginning. Humanity's rapid ascent did not go unnoticed by the Council. What had once been dismissed as a primitive nuisance quickly became a threat they could no longer ignore. Earth's colonies were expanding at an alarming rate, spreading into territories once considered Council-protected space. Every attempt to contain humanity's influence failed miserably. The Council sent diplomats to negotiate, their attempts wrapped in promises of peace, yet laden with veiled threats. They warned humanity to halt its expansion, to surrender control of its rogue territories. But humanity had already grown too independent. Their leaders saw the Council's attempts as empty gestures, tools of manipulation to keep them subdued. The first confrontation came not through words but through silence. The Terran fleet, built with technology far beyond the Council's understanding, began patrolling human borders. While Council ships hesitated at the edge of humanity's space, humans explored deeper into forbidden zones. New stations were established, new colonies forged, untouched by Council oversight. Tensions boiled over during a diplomatic summit, where Council representatives demanded compliance. Humanity's envoy, faceless as always, delivered a message that echoed through the assembly halls. "We are not bound by your laws. We are not your subjects. Humanity will forge its own path, by its own rules. The Council responded with sanctions, blockades, and threats of military intervention. Yet humanity's ingenuity outpaced every attempt to subdue them. Their logistics were unmatched, their resources abundant, and their capacity for adaptation endless. Earth's colonies were connected through a web of encrypted networks, resilient against Council interference. Humanity's defense was not just in numbers, but in spirit. A collective will propel them forward, fueled by centuries of rejection and abandonment. They embraced a future where no alien species dictated their fate, where freedom was not a privilege granted by a superior council, but a right they earned through sheer will. The council attempted to strike back. Speeches were made, and hollow warnings were broadcast across the galaxy. But these actions only galvanized humanity further. New alliances began to form. Species who had once been oppressed by the council saw in humanity a chance to stand on equal footing. Small delegations, desperate for freedom, began reaching out in secret. Every encounter with the council became a reminder of humanity's resilience. Where other species cowered under pressure, Earth thrived. Every setback only pushed them further to innovate, to develop technology the council could scarcely comprehend. Humanity's rise was no longer a threat. It was an inevitability. The stars no longer whispered of isolation. They spoke of unity, of a future where every species, human and alien alike, could walk alongside each other in freedom and mutual respect. And as the Council's influence waned, humanity stood as a guiding light, a beacon of hope for those who sought to break free from the chains of oppression.